So we start with the portrait of Gertrude Stein. Now, in this case, what we're looking at should be a fairly simple portrait. In fact, it's painted in 1906, 1907. And what's happening is Picasso's looking for a new way to depict form. And if you look at most of it, it's pretty standard for a portrait. The hands are right, the robe is right, the clothes are right. It's all very realistic until you get to that face. Now, he finds inspiration in primitive Iberian culture, in other words, the primitive cultures of the Spanish Peninsula. And this is where things get interesting. Now we start with the face. And this is where Cubism really comes into its own. So what he's doing that's making this cubist is normally an artist is going to be looking at the relationships. You want eyes that are going to be parallel and properly set from one another. You want a good center line down the face, etc. You get the idea. I'm kind of ballparking this, but it's giving you a rough idea of how an artist normally sees a face. And we see it in terms of relationships. How do the eyes relate to one another? How do they relate to the nose? How does the nose relate to the mouth? How does the chin relate to the nose? Etc. And by the way, the whole thing is broken up into mathematical equations as well, 1.618 to 1 being the one that's key. So that's normally how we look at things. We're looking for symmetry, because symmetry is bred into us an evolutionary level to depict beauty. So let's go over to the portrait of Gertrude Stein. What he's done here, and what looks odd to you, or should look odd to you, is the positioning of things. Because what he's done is he's actually studying one element at a time, independent of anything else. So this is her left eye. He is studying her left eye completely independent from her right eye. He's looking at the nose and he's going, okay, well, how does the nose look most interesting? Well, when you see it from up front, it's kind of boring. You could draw the nose sort of with just the base of the nose and ignore everything up above. Instead, he turns it to the side so that we get this triangle, just like when you're a small child drawing a portrait and you're going to draw that nose sideways. It's the most legible, the most relatable form of the nose. He's going to take the mouth and ignore how it relates to the rest of the face. So the mouth is now dealt with completely separately. So it ends up a little bit larger and in an odd position. And the sides of the face are also dealt with independently. Here he's giving us the jawline, which is always a good, strong line to work with. And here he's giving us the cheek coming down this way. So we get that disjunction where these two shapes aren't quite working with one another because they're not meant to. They're not related to one another. He doesn't want them to be related. He's dealing with them separately and independently. Even the ear, of course, being important, but he doesn't bother putting any detail into it because we don't worry about an ear in terms of the detail. We simply want to see a form. So as we go back and we start looking at the whole piece in general, we see that that head is this simplified planar form. In other words, he has simplified it into these flat forms, flat shapes. We see a great disparity between the head and the rest of the body, which is particularly striking. It's almost as if he gets through most of this image, painting it classically, and then suddenly comes to Cubism, and all that's left is the face, so he does the face in Cubism, in these new ideas. What we're actually seeing is Picasso's discovery of a new approach to human form in a single transitional painting. We don't always see transitional pieces. We don't always see the piece that brings an artist to a new idea. But in Picasso's case, we do absolutely with the portrait of Gertrude Stein.